Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Four Downs, part of the Clovercrest Sports Media. And I'm gonna tell you, this it's an exciting show, man. Exciting show. We got a lot to cover. The schedule's out for 2021, and our focus here is the SEC Conference. Yes, with the defending champions, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Will they be able to do a repeat? Or could we see a big surprise within that conference to take over that conference? We'll have to just wait and see in that. But besides all that, we had some coaching carousels that's happened mid-season and even in the offseason. Is it fair to say that the right people are in the right position to be coaches? Or is there a conspiracy? We got that and much, much more. I'd like to bring in Big Jace and Joe Aguirre, the owner of Clovercrest Media and the host of the show. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to start the show, Joe. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm really looking forward to this show. Very excited for the SEC. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about as far as all these coaching hires. It's great to see these young fellas get opportunities, but it's starting to get a little monotonous. But we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking about the schedule coming out today, Wednesday, January 27. I'm already excited. I wish the season was already here. And being that all the conferences got their schedule, there's no delays, there's no dilemmas. Especially the Pac-12, they got to deal with finding a new commissioner because for a lack of leadership. To the Big Ten, they don't have to wait and see about the other conferences, what they're doing. Everybody is finally together on this. And I wish it was like that at the beginning of this past season, but hey, it is what it is. But to be in focus here, here is my SEC conference. I'm going to start off the back. The two top teams, Georgia Bulldogs. Yes, I am a big Georgia fan. I know I'm wearing my New York Giants sweater. But them versus Alabama for the SEC championship. That is my prediction in Atlanta for December of 2021. Now, in a row, I have here representing the East Side. I got Kentucky, Florida, South Carolina, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee finishing last. On the other side, on the West Division, I have Alabama leading the way with Texas A&M still behind Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, Auburn, Arkansas, and lastly, Mississippi State. Now, of course, all that could change to see what type of roster is going to happen this offseason. But Jace, any inputs on my selection? Do you think that we're going to see this, or do you see it in another way?
I like your big two. I think I agree with that. Maybe Texas A&M can give Alabama a little bit of a run for their money with the new quarterback that Alabama's going to have to bring in. But the one big standout here is that you have Kentucky at number 2 in the East. I think that's pretty crazy.
Kentucky have the players came back. They're going to have one hell of a defense. You got to give credit. I know due to the on and off games that they couldn't be consistent enough. But yeah, I'm looking at their roster. I mean, they got great competition. They have to play LSU. They have to go on the road to play Mississippi State. They got this quarterback named Joey Gatewood who transferred from Auburn because he was not given an opportunity because of Bo Nix. He's going to be a difference maker for Kentucky. And because they have a solid defense, I believe that kid could be able to take that offense to another level. That's why I have them finishing behind Georgia.
I'm not mad at that.
Oh, of course you can.
I like the kid. I don't know if he has that much in him to elevate Kentucky that much. But, I mean, if you look at – I understand it was a COVID season. But last year they had such a bad offense. I expect it to get better, but I don't know if leaps and bounds better. I expect their defense to be okay, be solid, but the offense is really going to struggle. If this quarterback's the real deal, I said they should have been starting even earlier. They should have started him last year. They didn't do that. If this quarterback is the real deal and can really elevate that offense, then yeah, I can see them going for 2. But right now, I don't know.
So you said you liked the top 2, and we'll stick on the Georgia side of the house. If it's not Kentucky, who is your pick?
At number 2?
Yes.
In the East? Honestly, I'd have to say right now, I don't like Florida. They lose basically everything. I do expect them to – it'll be a rebuild year, and I expect them to rebuild and eventually get up to that top. But this will be a struggle year. I really like South Carolina bringing in Sarkisian and doing what they can do. I like what they have. I like the elements they have there. I think they can really make some noise because they were a sneaky team this year, and they got some solid returning pieces back, which I think they can compete.
I don't know about the sneakiness. Remember, they fired their head coach. They ended up hiring Shane Beamer towards the middle of the season. And then there might be a quarterback dispute. I don't know if Luke Doty is going to remain as a starter for South Carolina, but he is projected to be there. But that defense is not up to par. Can they improve on their defense? Listen, they're going to have to go home and play Auburn. We don't know what type of position they'll be in. We don't know if Bo Nix could make a comeback or will there be a quarterback change there. And they also have to play at Texas A&M. So South Carolina got, their hands tied right now. And also in the non-conference, they are playing Clemson.
Yep.
So that rivalry between them two, both teams, it's going to be a spectacular season. I just don't know if South Carolina has the talent to keep up with Georgia on that. As far as the other side, Alabama losing their 2 best wide receivers. They're losing Mac Jones, but they do have quarterback Bryce Young, who was potentially supposed to be the starter this past season. He's going to get the nod this year. And under Nick Saban, he is having a new set of staff to replace all those coaches he had for the last 2 or 3 seasons. They all went and dispersed to be head coaches. It's going to be interesting to see how Alabama bounce back. And will they be better than how LSU did this past season after winning the championship and then they fell under 500? Joe, what's your take on that?
Yeah, look, I think Bama's going to be fine. Obviously, you're losing some big-time superstars. You mentioned Bryce Young. This is a 5-star recruit, and had there been a preseason, likely would have been the starter over Mac Jones. Expect John Mechie to become the go-to receiver. There's a lot of great talent in that group, obviously quite a bit unproven. Maybe the toughest part is that the offensive line takes a hit. Alex Leatherwood obviously will be going to the NFL. The defense is going to lose some big-time contributors, but Will Anderson is one of the top pass rushers in the country, and I think when you look at the overall depth and talent at Bama, it's going to be really hard for anybody to overtake them. But, and I think you guys will appreciate this, I definitely see Georgia, in a lot better shape going into their matchup next season. So
the only thing that I am worried about the Georgia's offense is being one-dimensional. They have to be balanced. And if you saw the game with Cincinnati, how JT Daniels, he has an arm. He has the accuracy, but what I haven't seen is the wide receivers consistently getting open, consistently hitting their routes, and that's what's causing JT Daniels throwing interceptions. They need also the run game, and if you're going to make it far, look, they barely defeated Cincinnati. They could have easily lost that game, so something's got to give. Defense, I'm not even worried about the defense. That offense need to put up the numbers if they want to become national champions. And right there, I think that's a little downfall. If Kirby Smart is able to make it happen, like Fromm's freshman year, I think definitely they have a good chance. But as far as Alabama, look at their schedule. They starting off with a top 25 game, which is Miami. Now, funny how it is. Again, they had this Miami scheduled for like 5 years ago, but will Derek King be healthy enough to play in this game? You understand that he had a torn ACL towards the end of the season. Will he be able to be bouncing back? And he did say he was going to play another year. Could he play this game? And looking down on the rest of the schedule, yes, they play at Florida. Who knows what type of team Florida is? I don't think we're going to see the same type of game as last year with the ACC championship. But they have a smooth ride all the way to the SEC championship. You think so, Jace?
Smooth. I don't know. I think they coming out the gates, especially with that being the Miami game being their first game. I expect them to struggle a little bit. I expect them to be like a little bit of like an Oklahoma last year. New guy, new QB. He's gonna be a stud, but is he going to really fit in right off the bat? I don't think so. Bryce Young, he's really good, but he's a dual threat quarterback. A lot of Alabama quarterbacks aren't dual threats. I mean, we saw Jalen Hurts, but as soon as there was a decision between Jalen Hurts and Tua, Saban chose Tua. So I think them not being able to hand the ball off as much as they normally would. I see Bryce Young in his first year playing a sort of like Taysom Hill with the New Orleans Saints. Not really hand the ball off to they're not going to have Najee Harris, but they're going to have a stud running back there because it's Bama. He's going to be taking carries away from him. He'll be able to make some plays down the field. But I expect there to be a couple struggles early on, very similar to Oklahoma last year. But I expect it when we get down into November, even later October, things will start clicking for this kid, and we'll see why he got that scholarship, why everyone thought he would be starting last year.
Well, Jace McClellan and Rodell Williams will be two sophomores in a position to be starting roles at the running back position. And that makes Alabama dangerous because you also add Bryce Young. I mean, look at how Army used to do with their running game, that they give the ball to anybody and create yardages. So, and then with heavy wide receivers, it's like what Joe said, man. Alabama's going to be back there again. But on the other side of that, look at the Georgia schedule. They start off with Clemson. Now, this is pretty much a playoff game for Georgia, and so for Clemson. We already seen Clemson without Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, but they're also going to be without Travis Etienne in that offense. How are they going to function here? And as far as for Georgia, we've seen them how they got demolished by Alabama. Can they learn from that game and continue on and pull an upset and defeat Clemson right off the bat? What do you think, Joe?
Nope.
You don't think so?
I do not think so. Look, I think it's on. Look, we learned a lot this past season. We learned that Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati and Liberty are just not on the level of these other teams. And I still think Georgia, and I'll tell you what, Georgia recruits as good as any team in the country. But I think at the end of the day, you still have to look at Clemson and Alabama as the big brothers in the room. I mean, they've got 5-star recruits on the bench that haven't even sniffed playing time yet. And I don't just mean freshmen. There's guys that'll be starting next year as seniors for the first time that were 5-star recruits when they got there. So that's a scary thought. That's too soon of a game for me for Georgia. I wish that wasn't their first game. I wish that was the third game of the year. I would think that, maybe
Georgia time to bounce back, and depending on the result of the
Fair
game,
enough.
win or lose, if it's a close game, they got 11 more games to be legit all the way to the SEC championship. And that I'm saying, we're assuming that they'll go to the SEC championship. But if that's the case, it's like getting a second chance, and then you could at least respect to say, hey, Georgia did play top level teams compared to some others that were riding by. You know what I'm saying? So you got a point there, but I like it. I like it being week one. We should have more games like this so we could differentiate who's better and who is deserving to be number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Do you think anybody wants to take that game?
As far as
who's
as far
like,
as
yeah,
what?
you know what? Pencil me in against Clemson game 1. And let's see
Yeah.
how good I
Why
am.
not?
I mean,
I would.
well,
You don't
because
want Clemson in week 14 or week 10 or later, because then you lose your chance of making it
but
to
what
the
if their
playoffs.
quarterback gets hurt in week 7?
I mean, you better have a backup.
Well, I'd be much happier to get him in week 10 than in week 1 in that case. I mean, look, there's a lot of factors I think that go into this at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, Ovi. I love the idea of scheduling out of conference top 25 teams. I mean, again, I think if you want to take your program to the next level, you're going to have to notch some of those wins up, you know?
Yes.
I mean, think about Appalachian State every year. That team gets off to like a 4-0 start. They're in the top 25 now. Like, they've earned the respect of, right. They lose a game and they immediately drop, 55 spots to the lower echelon of the college football ranks. But I'll tell you what, I like what Georgia's doing. I think that obviously Georgia, you guys made a lot of excuses for them last year, and I know they appreciate that. But you've definitely got a lot of excuses.
Come on.
Every week you guys came up with something. Oh, the defense was that was over.
Hey,
They were that good.
What I said they were going to play. I didn't say they were going to the championship
for like 10 weeks or some crazy nonsense.
Hey, my name is not Jace. My name is not Jace.
I'm just saying, right? I mean, you guys talking about like Kirby Smart. I don't know why he isn't starting the other guy. Well, he's the coach. I mean, so he would know who the starting quarterback should be more than you two guys would know.
He did not know because we were right. Ever since JT Daniels took over that offense, they were a different team.
No, you're telling me Kirby Smart's that stupid?
Well, he's not smart.
Look why Justin Fields went to Ohio State.
Whoa. That's a different topic. Stop. We're not talking about him. Don't mention him with Georgia. Please don't.
I'm mentioning him with Kirby Smart.
No, because Justin Fields probably didn't fit in that system that he was doing with them. And besides, look what he has done with Ohio State. This is a
good
different
quarterback's
topic.
a good quarterback over.
Are they good quarterbacks, or is they quarterback for that system? Think about it, because most good quarterbacks don't come from big teams. They come from colleges that we haven't even heard from.
Right, and Dwayne Haskins is currently looking for a job in the NFL.
Which he got signed already. Pittsburgh picked him up.
Oh, right. No, it's actually a futures contract.
Oh,
yeah, which I thought was interesting because look, Pittsburgh. I don't want to get sidetracked here, but they've got a lot of this big decisions to make. Ben Roethlisberger's got a $41.3 million option for next season.
Oh, that's
they deferred all that money and
all that money for an old man. All right,
yeah. So Dwayne Haskins certainly will have an opportunity, assuming they release Ben or he retires before March 1st. So keep your eye out for that. But again, I think we already understand where we're at. We know, Jace, don't we? We know.
We don't want to bring up the old, but hey,
look,
you mentioned something about Appalachian State, right?
Yeah.
And I would love to see these colleges step up to the plate, but as soon as they get good, these Power 5 conferences, they start snatching these head coaches. And then those colleges are not up to par anymore. Oh, they used to be that good when that head coach was there. You see what I'm saying? So it's like a minor league system building up for the Power 5 conferences. And when I kind of like disagree, but then again, they do pay the coaches a lot better than those other colleges. So, but yeah, hey.
Yeah, but that's interesting too, because, this whole coaching system and obviously Saban and Urban Meyer and some of these guys obviously have the coaching trees. We know the Belichick coaching tree and the Holmgren. Like there's a lot of these coaching trees. And there was a time where this is what you had to do. You had to pay your dues, right? You had to become a coordinator and sort of, graduate assistant to a coordinator of some sort. And you'd become a head coach at a mid-major and then work your way to like a Power 5 offensive defensive coordinator position. Maybe you go do a little NFL stuff. You get fired in the meantime. And then that would prepare you to be a head coach at a smaller college or at a mid-major. But that doesn't necessarily apply anymore because we're oftentimes now seeing guys with little to no experience as coordinators. You just saw in the NFL, Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions got a 6-year contract despite the fact he's never coached anything in his entire life. We've seen a lot of that. I'll mention Shane Beamer a little bit more later on in the show. Again, a guy who was the tight ends coach, who now is the head coach at South Carolina.
I thought maybe, when you're offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, that once you did like 2 or 3 years, then you're able to qualify yourself as a head coach. But it doesn't seem like that anymore. You have a point there.
The rules seem to keep changing,
right,
on what we're looking for in a coach. And I think we all know that there's a lot of coordinators that are out there that are doing a really good job that don't even seem to be able to sniff an interview. And then again, you've got guys like Beamer and guys in the NFL like Campbell who have never coached anything or ever called an offense or a defense that are just being handed these jobs for no apparent reason.
Joe, you said the same stuff about Joe Judge, though.
Well, hey, listen.
He also went 6-10, so I don't know if my criticism hasn't been completely justified yet. The verdict is still out.
Though, right? He was a coordinator. He was a special
teams. I mean, like a big boy coordinator on something that matters.
That's a special thing to do, man.
I joke. It's obviously very important. It's like the 4th most important part of football.
But, however, what I did notice is it's not enough minorities in the coaching business. Not that many minorities. Now, does that rule don't apply to college sports?
It doesn't. The Rooney Rule of the NFL does not apply in college sports. And, look, again, the problem seems to be, again, I think look at what Tennessee just did in hiring what's his face, Heupel, the former Oklahoma quarterback. Again, this is another guy with barely any experience. They presented him to the media like, this is the guy we wanted. No, it wasn't. There were 2 other white guys, more high profile, that you wanted that turned you down for better opportunities at what they thought were better schools. Rather than go out and find a nice, sexy choice, something people could get behind, you went with Heupel. You went safe. You went boring. You see a lot of that. Again, that guy hasn't done anything more than anybody else to have deserved that position. I don't like it. I mean, look, I'll get into this before we're done. I know sometimes people get upset when you start bringing race up in sports. And as professional sports, obviously people lose their mind because Sunday, I just want to watch the game. Protest on your own time. Sometimes you have to be aware that some of these opportunities, and if you look at an NFL team, and this isn't racist to say, but you notice most of the players are black.
About 90% of them, yes.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm going to share the numbers when the show's over. It's a lower number than you would think, the percentage of black players. It used to be much higher. It's actually, I think, because of the advent of white wide receivers that Tom Brady made famous. You're starting to see some of those numbers kind of balance out again.
Multicultural there as a players, yes.
Absolutely. Right. Last week I talked about the fact that guys like Trevor Lawrence, are more keenly aware of the experience that their black teammates don't enjoy. And, we've seen lots of things from lots of coaches where years later, former black players are like, guy used the N-word. He treated the black players very differently than the white players. We all play ball. And we've all played sports, and I know within a locker room, you generally don't see a lot of racism. It's a brotherhood. We're all there for the same reason, no matter what your race or your religion is. There's joking. It's generally all in good fun. I'm sure that there's certainly situations where maybe things get out of hand, but again, you're still talking majority of the players are black. And there's not a black coach on your sideline, especially if you're in the SEC.
And if there are coaches in the sideline, they're not in the top.
It is a joke because not only are there not black head coaches, even your coordinators are all white guys. Your conditioning coach, your tight ends coach. I've seen in a lot of places where even the wide receiver and the quarterback coach is a white guy. I mean, come on. Let's again. I know people are kind of tired of the race thing, and I'm not saying they're like this is not a racist thing, but to look at this and not think it's problematic that there's so few black coaches is, I don't know. It's a little bit weird.
Absolutely. And speaking about coaches here, we have Eli Drinkwitz, who was the head coach of Appalachian State. He takes over for Missouri. Tennessee is trying to find their coach. They're under investigation for some recruiting violations. Their coach was immediately dismissed and more likely will not receive any benefits. We mentioned Shane Beamer already with South Carolina. We also have head coach Clark Lee, who was a defensive coordinator from Notre Dame. He takes over Vanderbilt. And then there's a new staff members under Nick Saban this year, especially in the offense coordinator. Matter of fact, former head coach from the Houston Texans, O'Brien, he takes over as the offensive coordinator. And then you got Brian Harsin, who left Boise State to take over Auburn. Then you got Lake Kiffin and Mike Leach. They're in their second year. So we'll see if they will be able to develop and be better than this past season to see if their offense will take them miles away. And they got a hard task because they got to cross through Alabama. So there's a lot of pieces being filled in, new faces in the SEC. And who knows how long Nick Saban will have with Alabama. I mean, he's reaching already close to 70 years of age. So how long does he have left to coach Alabama?
You mean how many more national championships is he going to win before he hangs them up at 85? I don't know. He's like the new Bear Bryant dude. I mean, he could stay there till he's dead, pretty much, if he wanted to.
Who's the coach from Penn State?
Joe Paterno.
Yeah, Joe Paterno. I mean, he could be that guy in the wheelchair, coach from the press box or something. Who knows?
Just got to make sure you don't have a Jerry Sandusky and you can stay as long as you want.
Oh, man.
Is this the first time anyone's brought Jerry Sandusky's name up? Sorry, Penn State. But not for nothing. I know you guys heard about Meshach Parsons and the interesting things that have come out about him. He must have gone to one of Sandusky's kid camps because apparently Meshach Parsons, if all of this is to be believed, has been rubbing his genitals and inserting them into his teammates' buttocks.
Oh, my God.
From a report I heard earlier today, Meshach Parsons is either mentally disturbed or a closet homosexual who's taking it out on his teammates. And for crying out loud, bro, it's 2020, 2021. If you're gay, just be it. Don't be all weird in the locker room, man.
Oh, man.
It's some crazy. Did you guys read that stuff today?
I got to catch up with you. You're ahead of me, Joe. You're ahead of me.
I don't think we're looking at the same sites, Joe.
I read it on Hustler's sports section.
Hustlers. Of all magazines, you went to Hustler.
They have a pretty good sports section.
You know what section I'll be watching is this mock draft that's happening for the NFL.
Chuck Parsons not in the top 5.
Hey, so this is a mock draft, and again, this is not I'm not predicting. This is somewhat what could possibly happen. Can the New York Jets actually not pick a quarterback? A lot of people are assuming that maybe Zach Wilson might be number 2. people are saying Justin Fields might have fallen down in the first round. But right now, unanimously, people think that Trevor Lawrence will be number one in Jacksonville. Maybe Jamar Chase might be the number 2 pick for the Jets, and Devontae Smith. But Joe, if I'm New York, I'm the Jets. It's all about fame. It's all about names. It's all about getting all the attention. Wouldn't you not believe that maybe if the Jets need a wide receiver, they just grab Devontae Smith and say the hell with it. Let's get him.
Yeah, I feel like this Dolphins thing to Devontae to the Dolphins is a lot of wishful thinking for like two and Devontae.
Mhm.
I don't know why anybody would pick Jamar Chase over Devontae Smith right now.
Right.
I mean,
I agree with you.
Right, if you're being honest and you're like, well, let's look at what's happened in the last couple of years. Jamar Chase, to me, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but he's like the 3rd best wide receiver in this draft as far as I'm concerned. This is a lot like this Conor McGregor thing, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. The ESPN want to hype it up.
I understand Jamar Chase, a big guy. He's got a lot of upside. I am not ready to say this guy is like Canton bound. I feel pretty solid in saying Devontae Smith's going to be a superstar at least the first 4 or 5 years he gets into the league. He's a smaller guy, so I might question Devontae Smith long term. But again, the NFL is made for speedsters because they don't want people getting touched at all in that sport, which I hate. But I also wonder if the Jets wouldn't consider, especially if they're married to Sam Darnold. I think you're dumb if you keep that 2nd pick. Again, just Jamar Chase doesn't make sense to me there. He really doesn't. If you're going to keep Sam Darnold, I wonder if I know they already got another pick in that round. I wonder if you trade this back and try to see what you can do. Maybe even to get a player. Again, certainly, I watch the center articles on Hustler. That's right, Frank. Hustler.com is very underrated for its sports coverage.
Hey, that's where he gets all his political beliefs and stuff like that. So,
and his stats.
Yeah, he's also involved with HHW show, and now I know. Thank you. But what other player is overrated in my opinion is Kyle Pitts. Yes, I know he had a success with Florida, but this guy gets injured, and if he can't handle hits because he was dealt with concussion protocols, why would I want him in the first round? I'm just saying.
Well, to me, I think you look at a guy like Evan Engram, you could argue the same thing. Oh, he's great, but he gets hurt all the time. I mean, there's not for nothing. I mean, you could say it about Saquon Barkley. You could say it about Christian McCaffrey. I mean, all these guys seem to be getting banged up. So
now, again, this is not official. This is just all in some assumptions. Could Justin Fields end up going to the Detroit Lions? I mean, they already hired their coach for 6 years. Could they gamble more and get Justin Fields?
And they're looking to trade Stafford away now. So, yeah, they're definitely going to be looking for a quarterback now.
And with Stafford, does it come with picks? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What a bummer, though, would it be if, let's just say, the draft goes Lawrence, Fields, Wilson to the Falcons, and there's the Lions at 7.
They might get Mac Jones.
Well, I guess worse things could happen to you. But again, I think they're going into this thinking that Fields or Wilson will be available at the 7 pick. I mean, I think it was kind of dumb for them to announce they were going to separate with Matt Stafford. That doesn't seem like it's a really good leverage move.
No, they're going to trade Matt Stafford to the Jets for that pick or something like that. A team that needs a QB.
Yeah,
maybe. But again, what do you do with Sam Darnold? Are the Jets going to move on from Darnold, or I mean?
And that's the thing.
There's a free agent regardless. He's a free agent regardless. So that's not the.
But Darnold hasn't had an actual coach.
Darnold.
No, he's not. Sam Darnold's not a free agent.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
He's fifth year. He's 5th year, just like Baker and the boys. Again, I don't know. The Jets haven't really officially decided what they're doing with Darnold.
Right.
And you mentioned on Joing about the G-Men that, I mean, he's got the greatest left tackle since Anthony Munoz. In Mekhi Becton, who by all accounts, according to you, should have been the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Stop it. Oh my God.
You know I was going to bring this up again.
Yeah, I know
you knew it was going to happen. This is the
Or
perfect
you
time
take
for
a
it.
Sewell, and both your tackles are all set for 15 years.
And then when you go 2-15, it'll be really hard to explain how great your tackles are, but you'll try.
Damn. 2-15. That's a lot of games there. Yeah. But
I mean 2-14. Well, there's 17 weeks of the league. I mean, I could see the Jets finding a way to lose their bye week.
Well, the Jets also had, they had the number 2 and they have number 23 pick. So if they were go and get a right receiver, they could also get a defensive end. Also, the New York Giants needs a pass rusher, and why not get Azeez Ojulari from Georgia? Who knows? Or maybe, again, anything can happen. We just got to wait for that free agency to see where the teams are actually going to land. Again, Indianapolis Colts, they needed a quarterback. Need a quarterback. Phillips Rivers retired. Could Mac Jones move up?
No, wait a minute. Are all the Alabama guys going to the Dolphins? Is that what you're doing here?
Did I do that?
That's it. Yeah, you got Najee Harris with their second pick.
I didn't even realize that. I went like this. I took some dice and I said, "Bam! You're going to that team and that team." So
maybe Jalen Waddle falls to the second round and they grab him with their first pick of the second, and they just redo all.
There we go. And look, the last two picks all depends on the Super Bowl. Or whoever wins the Super Bowl is going to be number 32. But if the Buffalo Bills, could they get an offensive tackle? Again, I mean, right now the Bills, they're at a position where they just need to build. They had a success out of making it to the AFC Championship. Can they repeat and go further next year? So this draft is very important to them, and they're looking good so far. But hey, these are all assumptions. I'm also assuming that maybe Mac Jones and Christian Barmore may not be in the first round. Again, they got the national spotlight, but there are a lot of good defensive men there, and I can't wait to see the Combine to see exactly where these guys stand. Anyhow, that's what we're looking right now. In the mock draft, and as weeks go by and everything else, I say within March it'll be an actual draft. Jace will have one, Sean will have one, and myself will make some comparisons to see. And the fact that, Joe, you'll be the judge. Get it? Judge. To determine if who's right, who's wrong, which list goes to the trash. That's what we're going to be playing in a couple of weeks. So, but listen.
I don't want to make any assumptions right now, but I'm already eyeing Jace's list for the trash can.
The one person who's been working on it since last season.
Yeah. And
you get backlashes on social media about it too.
Yeah.
So,
he gets beat up by random strangers that are like, love your first 6. What are you smoking for 7? Yeah, I love it. No, listen, he does put a lot of work into it. I feel like Jace, what Jace's problem is? He starts to overthink things.
Nah, keep it simple.
He doesn't just he's like, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. And then he's like, it would be really dumb if I take this good idea and he starts doing some things to it. God, just go with your gut, Jace.
Hey, there's a lot talking with this gut, bro.
I'm telling you, trust your gut.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different things coming from this gut, Joe. I don't know. It's hard to listen sometimes.
Well, Joe's gonna speak out of his gut pretty soon with the final whistle. And before we do, we're gonna take a quick commercial break and say what's up to one of the podcasts that's a member of Clovercrest Media.
When I was 12 years old, I became a Jack Nicholson superfan. This happened almost overnight on an evening in February 1997 when I first saw The Shining.
Here's Johnny.
In those 20 plus years, I never stopped being a Jack superfan.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Get ready for You Don't Know Jack, hosted by me. Subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform.
Matter of fact, you just put out episode 17. It's very good. You should check out that podcast for sure. Now, last season, the 120 FBS schools had 13 black head coaches. Well, since 3 have been fired and no African Americans have been hired yet this year, there have been 10 openings. All 10 went to white guys. Now, for years, these wannabe black coaches were told, become a coordinator at a mid-major program. Maybe you'll work your way up. You could eventually become a coordinator in one of the bigger schools and then work your way back down, become a head coach at a mid-major, and you'd be on your way. They were told it wasn't race that was holding you back. It was experience. But Shane Beamer's never been an offensive or a defensive coordinator. Mentioned earlier tonight, he was actually the tight ends coach at Oklahoma before South Carolina decided to make him a first-time head coach in the SEC. Tennessee hired Josh Heupel, another uninspiring safe choice. People of color represent 69% of the NFL, but just 35% of their assistant coaches. Black men make up 57% of college football teams, but just 10.77% of coaches are black. Now, some people get upset when you bring up race in sports, and I understand it, but and maybe you even feel good about yourself because you think Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach somewhere, but he's not, and you kind of know the reason why. It's high time for the NCAA to do something real about giving people of color more opportunities to become coaches. We're a much more diverse nation. Everyone should embrace it. The days of the good old boys network is coming to an end. Don't go down with a fight. Everyone's just looking for a seat at the table and an opportunity. You never know. You might find some really good coaches. And if that means Dan Mullins doesn't have a job, win-win. Thanks so much for joining us in All Four Downs. For Jace Garcia and our producer extraordinaire, Ovi Muniz, I am Joe Aguirre. Make sure you check us out at clovercrestmedia.com. Also visit hhwshow.com to get all the latest from the wide world of sports. We're proud to be part of the CMG Sports Podcast Network. We'll catch you next Wednesday night at 7:30 for All Four Downs.